You're listening to the Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Last Call, where Kevin, Wendy, and Brent talk about anything and everything that couldn't quite squeeze into the regular show. Today we talk about Fear the Walking Dead, From Dusk Till Dawn, The Whispers, The Almighty Johnsons, and Game of Thrones.
Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going to get started with what Brent's got to cover.
I just wanted to talk about the premiere of Fear the Walking Dead because I kind of feel that we have to. The Walking Dead is such a big phenomenon that, having a spin-off series on the air, we should definitely talk about it. There was a lot of talk going into this. We talked about the promos and the trailers and thinking, I don't know, and read the synopsis. And first of all, we had these high hopes that it would be somewhere else in the world. And they even said it would be somewhere else in the world, but it was just in Los Angeles, which is kind of a hellhole already. So we didn't have our hopes very high for that. In seeing some of the trailers, it was kind of meh. But this pilot episode wasn't that bad. I mean, I had fears that it would be horrible. It wasn't. I figured it would be really draggy. It wasn't really draggy, although there were some slow moments. And, and there was a lot of potential for it to be really good, too, but it wasn't quite there. It was kind of in between. Kind of what you'd expect from a pilot episode. No characters that I'm really latching on to yet. I think that's about all I can say about it.
Well, I was waiting, as I mentioned in our quick reviews, to see people that I trust, like the two of you and a few other of our listeners that I know are not just over the top, everything on The Walking Dead is awesome people, to tell me if this was maybe going to be worth it. I mean, genre TV for me is going to be a little light in September till our shows start coming back, so I have it on the DVR. The first couple continue to be okay, then I might enjoy it. It's certainly one I will check out. But right now, I'm kind of taking a wait-and-see approach.
Well, I was not really looking forward to watching this. I really did feel like it was my duty to watch it because of our podcast. And after about 20 minutes in, I was like, oh man, I'm not really getting taken hold with this whole family drama that's going on with the son who's the drug addict and he's psychologically troubled and he doesn't know if seeing his friend who has a big knife sticking out of her chest and is a zombie, seems to be eating somebody when he finds her, if it was a bad drug trip or if he's actually crazy because he's been in and out of the hospital for psych evals. It got better because I did start to feel more empathy for that character and what a mess his life was. And I did like the element that they're starting to weave in about sort of this paranoia and confusion about what's going on. There was a scene where they're trying to exit off of the highway and they're sort of stuck in traffic and there's these overhead helicopters and it's just chaos and confusion. And the husband, I guess, I can't tell, are they married or not, but I'll call him the husband for now. He realizes that this could possibly escalate into something. So they drive off. And at the very end, at least they gave the payoff that somebody else besides the kid sees one of these people turn and they don't know what it is, but at least, somebody else believes him. The one thing I really noticed in this pilot was the way they were using music to underscore and drive the tension more than anything else. It's not the same violin stuff that they use in The Walking Dead. But I don't know, it was almost overused to me, but it felt a lot more like the musical score of a typical horror movie too. So, I mean, I'll probably watch more episodes, but it wasn't like it ended and I immediately wanted to watch the next one. If this were streaming on Netflix, I would have stopped here anyway.
Yeah, if this were streaming on Netflix, I'd probably let it running in the background and just listen for anything exciting to happen, but I don't think I would have paid glued attention to it, wrapped attention to it. So
yeah, I agree.
I will check out the next episode, but, I'm not having great high hopes. There's just no characters I'm latching onto. Usually, if there's no characters at all in the first episode, and the first episode doesn't excite me from a story standpoint, that's not a good sign.
Well, of anyone, the potential, I think, is with the daughter to get me interested because she seems like she has half a brain. I was actually kind of hoping that they were just going to kill the kid. That would have been kind of a out-of-the-box way to go, right? Have their son be one of the zombies right from the start. And who knows, that might happen if he goes on another drug binge or something. The trailer for next week looks like they're going to introduce a lot more characters into the story too. So I don't know. Like I said, I'll give it a try, but it didn't grab me, and I'm really surprised because apparently the ratings were huge for this episode. So I'm curious who's going to come back for the second one, though.
Yeah, I think everybody in the world who is a Walking Dead fan decided they had to check it out just because it's a Walking Dead universe show, and that's probably why the ratings were so huge. But figured we had to talk about it here, so that's all I have.
Okay, Kevin, how about you?
Yeah, for me, just one item to talk about, and that's the season 2 premiere of From Dusk Till Dawn, the series. This is a show I've been enjoying since its start. And, season 2 kicked off pretty good. I wouldn't say it was a home run, but it's certainly intriguing, and I'm looking forward to where they're going to go. Many of you are probably like me, and that you may or may not be able to get the El Rey network, so actually I have to, fork over some money to iTunes or Amazon to watch the show, but I think it's worth it. It's certainly more on the horror side of things. For those of you in terms of asking what the show is kind of like, ask me what the vibe is. And it's now that we're past the end of the first season, we've kind of moved past the whole telling the story that we saw in the movie, or a good part of what we saw there, and it's starting to diverge a bit. But our story mainly follows the Gecko brothers, Seth and Richie. As we start season 2, they're kind of off in different paths. They've kind of separated a bit. They each have a traveling companion to go from there. We have Santanico, the Selma Hayek character from the movie. She's off with Richie. And Seth has got the daughter of the family that kind of got stuck in the titty twister there at the movie side of things and in the beginning of the show, Kate. So they each are kind of on a different path. I'm thinking they're going to converge again pretty soon together. And we have some of the other, the law folks who've been chasing the both of them because they rob banks and such. So they're still on the side of things. But the interesting thing too here from this episode, and we talked about the casting certainly in the early part of the summer, we have a couple of new characters here. Issei Morales is coming in as a lord, kind of like someone who oversees Santanico. So he's chasing her now that she's left the bar place to see what's going on, and he looks great. He's got a quite the costume and an attitude, and we've also got Danny Trejo playing the regulator, someone who actually comes back to life. He's a statue, believe it or not, in the location, and Issei Morales' character is able to reanimate him and tell him it's his job to go after Santanico. So that can be very interesting. Waiting to see where that goes. So it was a good start to the season. You can see they put a little more money into it. Some of the effects for the creatures and what's going on there, and also a good start to the season. I'm looking forward to see where they might go.
Well, that's cool. This is one that I don't know if it had too much gore or too much violence, but didn't really grab me. But I'm glad that you're liking season 2.
Yeah, I checked out first part of season 1 and then kind of checked out, if you will. But do have all of season 1 available to me to watch sometime, and I think I will. I think I'll catch this entire series at some point. But from what I got from the vibe from season 1, I'm kind of filling that hole right now in my my weird creature horror kind of hole with The Strain, which I'm really enjoying. So I think I'm going to finish out The Strain and then probably go back and catch up with this show.
Yeah, and I totally get that. Like I said, a little bit, I think, like our earlier discussion in the regular show this week about American Horror Story. There's some of these shows, and so far it's tended to be some of the horror ones for the three of us. If they hit you right, you go for them, and if they don't, then maybe it's something you just find something else to do. So I definitely would say that with From Dusk Till Dawn. I'm not going to say it's a great show or that I think you two or even many of the listeners have to watch it. If you get a vibe for it, if you can get access to the first couple of episodes, you'll probably know pretty quickly if it's something for you.
Yeah, I also think for me, I do have sort of a threshold about how many weird horror-y shows I can watch at one time. And I don't know, I think both of these sort of came at the wrong time in terms of me being sort of tapped out and seeing too much of that already.
And that's it for me.
Okay. I want to talk about the Whispers. I'm the only one watching this, but we're coming into the end of the season. The most recent episode, 12, Traveler in the Dark, was pretty dark, and I had speculated, I think, on the last call about whether or not they would kill a kid, and it really looked like they were going to kill one of the kids that they suspected was being taken over by Drill, this alien force. And it really kind of went right down to the wire about what was going to happen. It was very sad to have this little girl pleading with her father because she gets taken off to this base and he can't do anything. And it turns out she isn't the one who's possessed, but it wasn't clear that she wasn't. It really was in doubt. And one of the other characters figures out that it's the president because of a president's daughter, because of the code name that the Secret Service gave for the kid. That was sort of the only clue that it was her. The alien was hiding really well and masking itself. So, still some interesting stuff on that show. I have no idea if there'll be more of it, but I am expecting them to sort of wrap up the story in season 1, and maybe it'll launch some bigger problem for season 2. So I know you all aren't watching this, but I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah, I did watch the first couple episodes, and I am recording them on the DVR. And I'm getting more and more interested in this the more every episode comes out, and the more excited you seem to be getting about it. So this is one of those shows that I'll probably catch up with. I got Beauty and the Beast. I've got a couple others that I've just been queuing up on the DVR, and I'll watch in the future.
Yeah, it wasn't one that worked for me. So like I said, though, I'm glad it is something folks are still enjoying, because I do see a few other of my friends mentioning, like you, Wendy, a much more positive vibe towards the end of the season.
Yeah, it got much better once they actually got to the story. And I do like Lily Robb, who plays the lead character, and I like the actor, even though I don't know his name, who plays her agent partner. So if you don't really like them, you probably won't be very engaged in the show. But I like them. The other show I wanted to talk about was The Almighty Johnsons, which we've been rewatching. And the most recent episode, 11 of season 3, was a bit like Buses, really. And this is where things are really starting to heat up between the brothers. Axel and Mike are both looking for the Frigg. Mike's relationship with Michelle is imploding because he didn't like how she was using the magic stick Yggdrasil, that she was deciding who would be healed and who wouldn't. He thought she was overstepping her god power. So they're broken up. And at the very end of this episode, we land in the bridal shop where we meet Frigg, apparently. We also get explained or filled in for me, because I really wasn't connecting the dots until this episode, that Frigg's brother, Heimdall, is sort of the god of pathways or doors, and he's been keeping her hidden. And there was some fun stuff with Mike trying to get through the door to the sister, using his game god talents. But he's been hiding her, and he actually has been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes that I hadn't really noticed, but they kind of point out. So this was a pretty good episode. I'm liking where they're sort of building momentum. There's only a couple of episodes left, so I'm hoping we're going to get a good finish.
Oh, we're going to get a good finish. Don't worry about that. It is building up to it now. This is the, like you said, just a couple more to go. It's really rolling. And yeah, not only did we get the reveal of who the Frigg is, but you guys notice, right, that is the same woman who played female Axel in season 1 when Axel turned into a woman. It's the exact same actress. And that's why everybody, when they first saw, when Mike looked up, he said, "Oh, I can't believe it," or "You got to be kidding me," or whatever he said, because she is that person, and that's why we got the reaction we got from everybody. But yeah, the only one who could defeat Mike and his ability to always find his prey would be the one who can control the pathways, and that's what Heimdall does. And if you've seen even the Thor movies, you know who Heimdall is from the god aspect. He's the one who opens the bridge and so forth, and lets Thor move around. So yeah, it's a really cool, exciting build. We got the tension between Mike's turning into kind of a dick, and and what's going to happen there. And Michelle, who used to be the female version of that, has now turned into a very sympathetic character, and she's realized how much of a jerk he is, and she's kind of reverting back to her ways to some degree too. So, seems like a lot of stuff's coming to a head, and all I gotta say is these next couple of episodes, really good stuff.
Yeah, as you said, it's been a nice build here the last few episodes, knowing that we've only got a couple left. I like the nice pacing and the interesting bits between Mike and Axel, right down to the meeting in the bridal shop. And no, I didn't remember that was the actress who had played Axel. It's funny, I looked at her and said she looked a little familiar, but again, I just figured, okay, I've seen her in some other place. I didn't remember it was actually this series. So it was good kind of seeing that all come together, and we're building up the last couple. So, I've been giving it solid ratings. It hasn't really been a wowzer, but I've been very much wondering what they're going to do. So they've got me totally hooked.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm also totally hooked because they're all starting to worry, especially Ty and Dawn, about what this means, right? Because they don't really want things to turn godlike on their end. But I'm definitely still engaged in this whole problem of finding the Frigg, which is tough to do when you're in season 3. We're still talking about the very same problem that they planted in the pilot, and it doesn't feel tired, and I'm not exhausted of it. So good on you, show, for that. The last thing I wanted to mention was just some fun news to share. For our Game of Thrones bonus podcast, the last 2 shows we had talked about these videos by the Game of Thrones Academy YouTube channel, and the guys are looking at the story in the context of real medieval history, and also what would have been the medieval point of view because George Martin has said that Game of Thrones was inspired by Western history of the Middle Ages and kind of what people believed during that time. So we're actually going to be talking with those guys directly. We're going to have a little crossover discussion coming up after Labor Day. We'll be recording with them, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be kind of fun. We basically stalked them on Twitter and got them to agree to come and talk to us.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. I'm looking forward to not only seeing it, but also editing it and getting it out to all of the rest of you guys.
I love the worldwide nature of the impact of the show and what you guys are doing and what they're doing, too. It's been, from afar, just noticing them on Twitter when you started to interact with them. And as you mentioned, they weren't just, down the street at first when we talked about how you were going to set up the recording. So I just think it's cool. I love to see when fans can connect from this broader spectrum.
Well, the thing that I'm really interested in is their point of view, because, everyone on our bonus show is pretty much the Western point of view. We're almost all Americans or Canadians, which is practically the same. So we're bringing that to watching the show. So I'm really curious to hear their point of view, not just from thinking about the show and the books in the context of medieval history, but from the context of where they live. They live in Israel. They definitely have a Middle Eastern point of view that might make watching the show different, that I'm really interested to hear them talk about too. And that's going to be it for me. Want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll see you again soon.
Catch you next time.
Take care, gang.
If you'd like to contact Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, we offer a variety of feedback options, including email at feedback@tuningintoscifitv.com, voicemail at 206-202-4182, Skype voicemail at Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, or you can visit our blog and forums at tuningintoscifitv.com. And finally, you can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/tuningintosci-fi or at Facebook by following the link on our website. Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV was hosted by Kevin Batchelder, Wendy Hembrock, and Brent Barrett. The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle. Used with permission. Listen to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV on Stitcher Radio on Demand. Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. You've been listening to the Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Last Call for episode 350, recorded August 29th, 2015.